In the 1990s, enterprise Unix reigned supreme. Proprietary systems like Sun Solaris, IBM iX, and HP UX were the backbone of corporate IT. These systems were expensive, tightly controlled, and fragmented. They locked businesses into specific ecosystems. But a quiet revolution was beginning. It would dismantle the enterprise Unix monopoly and reshape the software industry forever. The roots of this revolution trace back to the 1980s. Richard Stallman launched the GNU project. His vision was radical. He wanted to create a free operating system that anyone could use, modify, and share. The GNU General Public License (GPL) ensured the software built under this system would remain free. It legally required openness. This philosophy laid the groundwork for the open source movement. In the early 1990s, Linus Torvalds added a missing piece, the Linux kernel. Combined with the GNU tools, it created a complete operating system. Linux wasn't just free in cost. It was free in freedom. Developers around the world could adapt it to their needs. A global, collaborative community formed almost overnight. Linus ethos, release early, release often became the mantra of open source development. Meanwhile, another unsung hero, Fabrice Bellard, was laying the foundation for critical open source tools. He created groundbreaking technologies like Kemmer and FF and Pig. These tools became essential building blocks for the developers on the cloud. Bellard's work showed how individual brilliance could thrive within the open source model. The tipping point for open source came with the rise of the internet. Businesses realized that Linux offered flexibility and massive cost savings. There were no license fees and no vendor lock-in. Linux quickly displaced proprietary Unix systems. It became the backbone of web servers and data centers. Tech giants like Google, Amazon, and Facebook built their empires on it. Companies found that using and contributing to open source saved billions while accelerating innovation. Linux was just the beginning. Open source spread to every corner of software development. Databases like MySQL and PostgreSQL became industry standards. The Apache web server powered the early web. Programming languages like Python and Ruby thrived under open source ecosystems. Even critical enterprise tools like Kubernetes and Docker emerged from open collaboration. Then came the cloud. At its core, the cloud is just open source packaged and sold at scale. Platforms like AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud rely on tools like Kubernetes and OpenStack. These tools abstract infrastructure complexity. The cloud is a capitalist triumph of open source economics. Companies didn't adopt open source out of altruism. They did it because it reduced costs, shortened development cycles, and created competitive advantages. Even the hardware industry is feeling this shift. RISC-V, an open source chip architecture, is challenging Intel and the ARM. By removing licensing costs, RISC-V enables startups to compete in a space once dominated by massive corporations. It's open source, driven by ruthless economics, and is starting to change the hardware game. Open source isn't just about collaboration or idealism. It's about economic incentives. The internet created a network effect. Sharing code became more profitable than hoarding it. Companies use open source to offload development costs onto communities. They harness the collective power of developers worldwide. It's not collectivism. It's capitalism at scale. The best ideas survive because they are useful, not because they are profitable to a single vendor. Yes, open source has challenges. Popular projects can suffer from underfunding. Maintainers often face burnout. Security vulnerabilities like Heartbleed and Log4j highlight its risks. But the economic machine driving open source is too strong to stop. Companies rely on it because it works. It's cheaper, faster, and more adaptable than proprietary systems. Today, open source dominates software. It powers the internet, the cloud, and even space exploration. From Stallman's idealism to Bellard's technical brilliance to the efficiency of modern corporations, open source has consumed the software industry. As it begins to extend into hardware and beyond, it stands as a testament to the relentless logic of economic survival. In a world driven by cost and innovation, open source wasn't just a better choice. It was inevitable.